Hi, Junior with today's thought, and today we're going to be talking about something that could turn out to be just the beginning now, but could be a harbinger of something very significant. Something so significant that you would possibly have to go back at least to Ronald Reagan, the 1980 election, to find something similar, which is a landslide victory for a Republican that came, well, maybe you've heard the term. Now, a lot of you are probably, maybe all of you, born after 1980, so you might not know what I'm talking about, so I better define this term, Reagan Democrat. A Reagan Democrat was, as I said, union workers, the average, what we called lunch pail Democrats, Joe Sixpack. They would traditionally, especially union members, would vote heavily Democratic. But that changed with Ronald Reagan. A lot of Democrats crossed over to give Reagan a very sweeping landslide victory. And those Democrats who crossed over were called the Reagan Democrats. And in fact, you could almost call me a Reagan Democrat, though I was never, I grew up in the middle class, but I was not a factory worker or union member. Anyway, let's not talk about me. What I'm talking about is now you have recently, as you may know, the United Auto Workers endorsed Joe Biden, as they traditionally do. They endorse the Democrat, even though there have been, you may have read some news stories that there is strong, I won't say majority, because I don't know, I didn't see an actual survey or a poll, but there is strong support among the rank and file for Donald Trump. And a couple of obvious reasons are this push for, or a big reason, this push for electric vehicles. That would be one, and the other one, shutting down pipelines, costing. Well, obviously, if you're not building a pipeline, then all these people are out of a job, and then some of them still are, or they're working for much lower wages in some other job, because the green jobs that Biden promised them did not materialize. But getting back to the UAW, auto workers push for electric vehicles. Number one, it takes fewer workers to build an electric vehicle. So there are lost jobs there. But also, nobody wants them, or very few people are buying these things. So if you're not buying them, then you don't make, well, first of all, that hurts the bottom line of the automakers who pay the salaries of these union auto workers, number one, or even non-union too, in the South. But it's also a matter of, if there's no demand for the cars and you're not building so many cars, and then it's another reason to need fewer workers. So it would not be surprising that they're supporting Donald Trump. And yet, as I just said, the United Auto Workers, the union leadership endorsed the Democrat Biden, even though the rank and file, for reasons I just gave you, are many of them, if not most of them, are supporting Trump, which brings us to let's go right to let me put up a headline for you, okay? And I'll give you a quote, and this will really tell the whole story. One of the biggest unions in the country just made a $45,000 donation to the RNC. That would be the Republican National Committee. So you're talking about the whole committee, so it's not a donation to Donald Trump, to his campaign. The Republican National Committee, of course, they want their mission is to elect a Republican president, but also Republican governors, Republican senators, Republican representatives, all down the line. So, let's go right to this quote here. The Teamsters political committee has given $45,000 to the Republican National Committee, according to federal records. This is the important part, a significant departure for a powerful, organized labor group that has more recently supported Democrats, such as President Biden, who has championed workers' rights. Well, one of the rights they haven't championed, just a little aside here, is the right of people not to be forced to join a union. But that's another story for another day, because we're talking about union workers today. The union sent out the contribution, the maximum allowed from the union's political action committee. So presumably they could have wanted to contribute even more, but they were limited to $45,000 to the RNC the same day. This is the real important part. The same day, former President Donald Trump met with Teamsters leadership for the second time in January. So if you are a Democrat, you have to really be worried about that. And when I say this could be the beginning of something big, maybe political realignment, because there aren't too many people, Joe Sixpacks who are woke, and they're worried about how many sexes, using correct pronouns and yada, 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 the whole 9 yards all the way to the left. So I wonder if this switch, it would take one more election, put it this way, and I'm going to be talking about that maybe in the next vlog thought, but it could be the beginning of the average working guy switching over to the Republicans, and what remains to be seen if it's a switch to Republicans or just a switch to Donald Trump personally. But you would have to, I talked about going back to Reagan, but you would have to go all the way. This is what's unusual about Donald Trump, or unique about him, almost unique, because you would have to go all the way back to FDR, Franklin Roosevelt. He's the only person I could think of who was born into wealth, very wealthy, and yet beloved by the common man. All right, and you don't. That's Donald Trump's magic, and as I said, whether it's going to translate, whether that's going to be passed on to future leaders, I don't know. But I would suspect that I would weigh more towards it continuing depending on who the next candidate is, because if the next candidate is in alignment with Trump, which I imagine would be the case, and because, well, the bottom line is if Donald Trump endorses that candidate, and in my opinion, that's the only way that candidate, whoever it turns out to be, would even get the nomination, would even win the nomination. You would need, if Trump says, vote for so and so, then the Trump supporters, the real hardcore MAGA people, will turn out for that candidate. If he says don't vote for this other person, then that person has no chance to win. So and then it will depend if that person carries through, because going back to Reagan, that was a disappointment. That George Bush was much more moderate, not as conservative as Ronald Reagan, and he famously said, "Read my lips, no new taxes," and then he raised taxes, and that probably cost him the election. And other factors too. So that's the point I want to make today. That is my thought, that you could be seeing something different. In fact, you may be just a matter of not how many workers are going to switch from Democrat to Republican. Well, I mean, that's one factor, but the other one is how many union leaders, the elites of the union, are going to listen to their own rank and file, because from what I could see, United Auto Workers, they didn't. They're not listening to their supporters, and we'll see what happens. As the saying goes, time will tell. And I guess that's going to be my thought for today. Thanks for stopping by. If you could subscribe, that would really be great. Share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it. But most of all, come back and see me again. I would love to see all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye. Oops, back again. I just remembered something that I wanted to say in the vlog today that I forgot to say. So I'm going to say it now, which is that now $45,000, the maximum that the Teamsters are allowed by their rules to contribute, that's nothing to sneeze at. That is important, but there is another way that unions help, and hopefully, if you're a conservative such as myself, hopefully they can help in the 2024 election in a few months, which is to supply manpower. Phone banks for getting out the vote, and on foot for getting out the vote, setting up card tables to get people to register to vote who aren't registered. And now we have a new wrinkle, which is ballot harvesting. So they could potentially be very helpful there too. And just that, well, as I've been saying, time will tell, remains to be seen. But definitely this is something that Republicans, especially Donald Trump, should pursue, this goal of trying to get the unions to provide manpower. It makes a big difference. It's always made a big difference in getting Democrats elected. So I don't know why it wouldn't make a difference, a positive difference, in getting Republicans elected. And now that really is all my thoughts for today. Thanks for bearing with me for an extra moment there. And until next time, once again, bye.